Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the ANC closes ranks around Jacob Zuma, despite growing calls for his exit. His ruling party might have come around to his way of seeing things, but many other camps of South African society are still furious over his leadership. Also, DRC's leader promises that elections will be held by the end of the year, that he'll name a prime minister within 2 days. Both matters are conditions of a stalled peace deal. And we hear from afropop personality supreme Yemi Alade. She's in the City of the Light on the first leg of her world tour and ahead of the release this week of a new single. But first, in South Africa, the rand took another hit, and rating firm Moody's is looking at downgrading the state power firm's credit rating. It's all amidst economic jitters triggered by President Jacob Zuma's surprise ousting of respected Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan last week. Now, that all has already seen South Africa's credit level with Standard & Poor's cut to junk status. Despite calls from unions, civil society groups, the opposition, and even from within his own party for Zuma to go, on Wednesday, the ruling ANC closed ranks, saying that the president's differences with various camps could be ironed out. Aisha Ishmael tells us more.
The ANC Secretary General, Gwede Mantashe, came out today saying that the ANC has thrown its weight behind President Jacob Zuma and that they would not be dictated to, what he called outsiders, that the party would not be dictated to by these outsiders calling for President Jacob Zuma to resign. He said that whatever differences they have with the president would be dealt with internally. So once again, President Jacob Zuma, as you said, has survived growing calls for him to step down. But opposition parties, civil society organizations, and even trade unions and churches are planning anti-Zuma protests across the country, with the main one planned for Friday. Friday is expected to be a total shutdown of the country. People are being urged not to go to work and to take to the streets to show their disapproval and dissatisfaction with President Jacob Zuma. People are saying after he fired the finance minister, he went a step too far. Also, opposition parties have also once again tabled a motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma, and we've just heard earlier today that that debate will take place in Parliament next Tuesday. So all eyes will be on Parliament next Tuesday to see whether this motion will succeed. As you know, President Jacob Zuma has survived a number of no-motion debates in Parliament.
Aisha Ishmael there for us in Cape Town. Now, at least 7 people were killed in Mogadishu on Wednesday when a car bomb exploded at a restaurant near the Somali Ministry of Internal Security. No one's yet claimed responsibility for the attack, but Somali extremist group Al-Shabaab have carried out similar ones in the past. DR Congo's president promised that he'll appoint a new prime minister by the end of the week. Joseph Kabila has also said that long-awaited elections will happen this year. Both matters are conditions of a stalled peace deal, the fate of which has been called into question over deepening divisions between signatories. Thomas Nicolin tells us more.
Joseph Kabila said in his speech that he would name a new prime minister in the next 48 hours. He also asked the opposition leadership to put an end to its internal quarrel and to join the national effort to build a new government. There were no members of the main opposition bloc today at Parliament, but other opposition leaders and members of the government attended the president's speech.
He should have told his team, his presidential majority, to launch an appeal once again calling opposition parties to come together, including an important part of fringe opposition members who weren't with him yesterday or the day before that.
The main element that general opinion is left with today is that in the next 48 hours we'll have a prime minister. And then the creation of an operational zone in the Kasai region.
Joseph Kabila did promise to restore order to the country's restive Kasai region. He said he had designated Kasai an operational sector, and he called on militia members to lay down their arms. Joseph Kabila also repeated a couple of times that the presidential election will be held in DR Congo. He did not talk about the date, but the political agreement that was reached last December stipulates that the presidential election should be held before the end of 2017.
Well, Gambia voters are preparing for their first major polls since the end of Yahya Jammeh's 22-year rule earlier this year. Regime changes opened up political space, and 9 parties have put forward candidates to join the country's parliament. Our correspondents are on the ground.
After releasing Mama Africa, we've been shooting so many videos, we've been touring, even though not officially. Other than that, we've been just trying to make good music, you know? It's pretty much that. And then we recently went on a world project with Shell, with Pixie Lott, what's her name? Jennifer Hudson.
Wow.
Hannah. I can't remember his name, but we were 5 people from the continents, different continents, and we were going to like low developed places, people that were in places that needed a lot of help, especially communities that didn't have so much access to resources. And we helped them with lights, but most especially they were means of energy that weren't they didn't have any side effects, like there are no carbon monoxide on the side or whatsoever. So it's like green light.
Because you're actually
energy.
you're incorporating humanitarian work on this new world tour that you're currently on. How does that work?
Well, we intend to. Normally, people would always go to charities and all that. We're going to do that, but the thing we want to do is also help the youths, people who are already empowered but just need the next step. For instance, you want to be a fashion designer, blah blah blah, but you're finding it difficult with certain, maybe like rent or blah blah blah. We could just come through or get you like a machine or 2. So that's like empowering the youths alongside, you know, the charity and all that. Because charity, at the point in my career, I realized that charity is something that we're obligated to do. And that's what we're trying to do. So charity and empowering the youths. Because if we don't, who will?
Well, it's a really busy year for you. You're going on a world tour. You're going to try and combine that with humanitarian work. You're also releasing an extended play version of your last album, which was Mama Africa. This one's called Mama Afrique. And you're speaking a lot of languages on it.
French, Swahili, and Portuguese.
Why Portuguese?
Well, I have a thing for languages. So maybe next year or by the end of the year, you hear a song in Spanish or whatever. So, and I know that a lot of African countries, some of them speak Portuguese, like Mozambique and the rest. So it's just about sharing the love. I love languages, so do it while you can, right?
Well, clearly there was a technical mix-up there, and what you saw in the last report was actually an interview with Nigerian afropop star Yemi Alade, who joined me on set a little earlier on to talk to me about her world tour, which kicked off here in Paris this week. Well, now we cross back to Gambia, where we can hear from some of the voters preparing for their first major polls on the eve of legislative voting in the country due to start on Thursday. Our correspondents have the story.
Downtown Banjul, Thursday sees the first competitive parliamentary election for over 15 years. People here are confident in the process.
Fundamentally, it's going to be radically different, obviously. It is going to be different because previously it was only one party.
So it's very exciting, and not only me, but people are happy.
Everybody has the right to vote for whoever they want to vote for.
238 candidates will contest 53 seats. The large field and associated logistics has generated a welcome headache.
Oh yes, because with this newfound freedom now, everybody wants to jump into the bandwagon, want to be a politician, want to be a National Assembly member.
9 parties are contesting this election. 7 belong to the presidential coalition, among them the United Democratic Party. This one-time opposition party is confident of victory.
We really have a stronghold in the Gambia, but now there is a democratic elected government. Everybody is free to support a party of their choice, and really we can see that UDP is the right party that people are giving a support.
But the former ruling party hasn't given up. These partisans are also confident of victory.
People are waiting for the win. This election is the testimony. All people will know that President Jammeh, all Gambians love him and still love him.
Campaigning ended at midnight on Tuesday. Polls open at 8 a.m. local time on Thursday, and results are expected in the evening.
That report by Duncan Woodside and Sarah Sacco. That's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Please do again if you can. Take care.
You Are Here, your programme spotlighting French heritage.
Versailles, the Louvre and the Mont Saint-Michel are all well-known stars of French heritage. But French genius and France harbors many other hidden treasures. The arts, gastronomy, architecture, as well as nature's wonders. Come along with France 24 and discover France's living heritage. From young apprentices to accomplished craftsmen, farmers to Michelin star sporting chefs, meet these people whose passion for their professions preserve and drive French heritage.
You Are Here on France 24 and France24.com.